Well, hello. My name is Jeff, and that handsome rascal there, that's Mike. Together, we are the hosts of Old People This Week, the podcast. This is a podcast for people who are 60 years and older, and who are sprightly and imaginative and agile and fun. If you're of the I've fallen down and can't get up school of aging, then this podcast probably isn't for you. Um, every week, we give you the stories that you need to know heading into the weekend so that you sound smart when you're with your friends having coffee at the gym, playing golf, or of course at happy hour, where Mike and I spend a lot of time doing our research.
Our, our favorite time of day.
Good to see you, Mike. How are you?
Good to see you. Doing great. How are you guys? You were under the weather there for a bit. You feeling better?
Yeah,
Good.
we were under the weather for sure. We had our sons were visiting, and their parting gift was basically an almost near flu-like experience that lasted for a week to 10 days after they left. Thanks to my kids. That's why you love your kids. There.
And now you have a new dog.
And now we have a new dog. His name is Truman, and he is a royal pain in the ass. I will go into that at some length some other time. First of all, the news today. Well, we'll get right into things. The title of this week's episode should be "Sex, Drugs, and a Whole Lot of Everything Else," because that's what we're going to be discussing.
Yeah.
First of all, the in Golden Bachelor news. This is from the dailymail.com. And by the way, when I read this, listen carefully to how they describe Gary Turner, the Golden Bachelor. So they said, first of all, last Thursday, the former maintenance man, Gary Turner, and his beloved dog Cody made a 10-hour drive from Indiana to New Jersey and formally moved into the avid gardener Teresa Nist into her home. They were seen grabbing smoothies at a natural food store in a light snowstorm and 30-degree weather. And in another part of the article, Gary was described as a former hot tub installer.
they're just jabbing the
Basically,
guy.
yeah. It's what they were the ones who wrote they weren't the only ones, but they were one of the outlets that wrote the story that he wasn't quite what ABC made him out to be, some restaurateur and super fantastic, entrepreneur. Instead, he owned a restaurant back in the 80s, in which he sold. And then for the last 25 years, he spent his time as doing these odd jobs. And so they like to rib him and call him things like former maintenance man and hot tub installer.
Well, I thought it was interesting that that he moved in with her instead of, remember, during the courtship, she was adamant about dropping everything and moving to be with him and combining households, and that was going to be it. And now he's moving in with her, which raised a red flag with me because of all the salacious gossip we heard earlier.
Yeah. He, there's evidently he's not all what he seemed to be to the viewers or what ABC publicity made him out to be. He was not a restaurateur. I don't think he's that wealthy, and the lake house he supposedly owns must not be up to snuff for Teresa because they have moved to New Jersey. And but the news of this article and the reason for the article was that they, meaning Gary and Teresa, are coming back to California next month. They got married out here in California earlier this month because Teresa is nominated for a People's Choice Awards, of all things, for her in the category of competition contestant.
And why wouldn't Gary have been nominated?
Yeah,
I mean, he is he's the principal character. Why would he have been overlooked?
Well, winning a People's Choice Award is not a big deal. It's a sort of not a real award show, anyways. But so he doesn't have to feel too bad. But her category, though, killed me. Competition contestant.
Contestant.
Yeah, there are thousands of contestants on TV nowadays, all kind of shows, and she's one of them. But she's chosen, and let's give our hope that Teresa is able to win this award. That would be something.
Maybe she'll beat that tall guy with the cowboy hat and the earrings.
Yeah, maybe she'll beat him. Maybe.
I still don't know who he was.
No, I don't know who he was. Other than I think he's one of those guys who had sought the opportunity to be on national TV and get a little airtime on there and get engaged to his girlfriend. Looked like a Chippendale dancer. That's what he looked like, with prejudice. Onward to I've read or I think you sent me this fascinating article on dating over 60 for people who want to date, and the subject of it was a woman named Janet Ha, who's 65, and she tried online dating in February, and she found it confusing and weird. I had checked, she said, I had checked something casual because I didn't think I was looking for a relationship, but I didn't realize what that meant on Bumble, Ms. Ha said, laughing. So I evidently, I don't know if you know, I don't know the answer to this, but maybe on Bumble, when you put you're seeking something casual, it means you're seeking casual sex.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Though her dating introduction, as she went to put it, was inauspicious, 4 months later, she swiped right on a guy named Mike Ecker, 64, a divorced electrician from Wisconsin. And on their third date, she drove 3 hours from her home to his so that they could spend the weekend together. And it was such a success that they've spent nearly every weekend together since, playing Yahtzee and cribbage, cooking, and having what Miss Ha described as mind-blowing sex. The secret, she said, is in good communication. So dating at
Nothing
65,
like a furious game of Yahtzee to get you primed for mind-blowing
yeah,
sex too.
yeah, yeah. It's like it's dating at 65 doesn't sound much different than dating at 35, except that there's the Yahtzee and cribbage are thrown in there, and a 35-year-old nowadays, like the dude from The Bachelor with the earrings, would not know what Yahtzee or cribbage was. He's not interested in that.
Yeah, I just have an image of them sitting around in their pajamas playing Yahtzee and then dashing off to the bedroom.
Yeah, yeah. In my day, there was no Yahtzee or cribbage either. But maybe I don't play Yahtzee or cribbage now when I'm over 65. I'm not even quite sure what cribbage, how it's played. Do you?
No, I have no idea. No, checkers was complicated enough for me, so I never
Yeah.
graduated past that.
Yeah, Yahtzee. Who knew that Yahtzee was some kind of stimulant? She said that. She goes, "We are really open to talking about everything in a way that I have never experienced before." That's a sort of a diss on whoever she was married to earlier in her life. I used to be afraid to show who I really was in a relationship before. That doesn't say much about her long marriage that she had before either.
Yeah.
Because she said the reason she's afraid to show who she was because she was afraid that they might leave. Meaning, if she showed who she really was, people were going to bolt. So, what was she hiding?
This must have been quite a drought if she's now driving 3 hours just to spend the weekend with him.
Yeah, yeah. He's got it great. She's willing to drive 3 hours, willing to play Yahtzee and cribbage, and he has mind blowing sex. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean that's ideal. She probably cooks while she's there too, so he's got the whole package.
Yeah, Ms. Ha is a package that comes with everything. So, but the point of the whole article is that it was trying to make it right or feel right that people who are over 65 shouldn't feel ashamed about dating, which is, long married guys like you and I, we don't think about that, but it must be lonely for somebody who's over 65 and who wants companionship. And how do you find someone to hang with? Out here, I guess you hit a bar and try to meet somebody, but I guess you could try Bumble or one of these other dating apps.
Yeah, it's an interesting overlay of generational development. You've got people at this age, in the aging process, as we call it, now having the tools of modern technology.
We had to do it the old-fashioned way, try to get a girl drunk enough to hang with us.
Yeah.
Even if they, we had to rely on our wits more than we didn't have the technology. We had to rely on our wits and our brains and our ability to talk fast and think on our feet. These guys, they have it too easy nowadays. Just slide a picture left, right, okay, there we go.
Yeah, you had to rely on Coors and Budweiser.
Yeah, Coors and gin.
Gin.
What does it, the next story I was on to, and I think you sent me this one as well, is what does it mean to dress your age? And it was by a woman by the name of Vanessa Friedman, who's a writer for the New York Times. And Ms. Friedman was saying that, this was all written from a female perspective, point of view. And
Yeah.
she said that she saw a picture in a magazine of another woman wearing tuxedo shorts, a jumpsuit, and thought, well, I can wear that, meaning physically she could fit into it. But then she said to herself, who am I kidding? I can't wear that, meaning psychologically it was not going to be age appropriate. And she goes on to say, it's not about a list of garments you can or can't wear. It's about all the associations and assumptions embedded in those garments. Now, I agree with that. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you or I put on a pair of something that young guy, if I dress like Kanye West, I'm going to look like a fool. But so I agree with her saying that. But then she goes on to say, strict social or cultural rules about what to wear as you age don't really exist anymore. Well, that doesn't make any sense because if the cultural rules don't exist anymore, then why was she worried about wearing that jumpsuit? If the rules don't exist, then why didn't she just buy the jumpsuit and wear it? The rules do exist. And they're pretty strict rules. You can't, if you dress out of your age group, you're going to just look like a fool. And so you're better off sticking sort of in a general way, at least. You can have your own style, but in a general way, dressing your
Yeah,
age.
I think common sense probably kicks in, and you know what's appropriate, what you can get away with, and there may be some flaws in certain people's judgment about what they look good in, but the one look that I still see, and I just wonder if these guys own a mirror, particularly in this area where we live, where there's a higher prevalence of retired folks, um, are these aging guys who wear knee-length khaki Bermuda shorts, black
Yeah.
knee socks, and Birkenstocks.
Yeah. Even my dad, who was the type to wear a pair of Bermuda shorts and pull up his black socks, even in that era of the 50s and 60s, he didn't. You couldn't get away with it back then, let alone now. But they still try. Grown men, still try to dress like that, and then they think nobody notices. But I mean, I wear, I might wear this, but I'm wearing this also for the podcast. Generally, it's just t-shirts and casual shirts and shorts, and where we live, it's warm, so you want to wear appropriate. That's another thing about appropriate wear. It's also dependent not only on your culture, your age, but also where you live, the climate where you live.
Yeah, and in my case, I put on a little poundage, and so I tend to wear my shirts untucked now that there are companies that make shirts to be worn untucked. That works just fine for me. And when I was younger, I would no more have thought about wearing a shirt untucked than you can imagine. So it's a function of how we're aging, what's available out there, and but still comes down to, do you like what you look at when you look in the mirror before you head out the door?
Yeah, you have to look in the mirror. When you got to the point where you don't look in the mirror, you don't care anymore. You've gone too far. All right, that is a natural segue, by the way, into our this well, sort of a segue as to people who don't, who have alternate way of dressing and alternate lifestyles, maybe why some seniors are choosing pot over pills, and the pills that they're talking about aren't LSD pills. The pills that they're talking about is they're choosing pot over medicine pills that they've been taking because seniors, according to this article, are the fastest growing population of cannabis users in the United States. While some other groups have used pot for decades, studies suggest that others are turning to the drug for the first time to help them sleep better, dampen pain, to treat anxiety, especially when prescription drugs, which are often come with unwanted side effects, don't work as intended. So I believe that. I lived for some time in Los Angeles, where and the state too, where the pot is legal to be purchased. So, and there was a pot store no more than a stone's throw from the house that my wife and I were living in, and I have to admit I sauntered in there on occasion to get myself a. Well, what I buy was a little vial that had like 3 or 4 joints in there that you could smoke, and
Yeah.
but my beef is why. That's not why we did it when we were young. We smoked pot to have fun.
Well, yeah, you were trying to get laid with your
Yeah.
Budweiser and your pot.
Yeah. So why can't that be the same for seniors? Why is this whole article about the only reason that a senior would want to smoke pot or get pot in some form, chewables, whatever, edibles, is so that they can, it'll relieve pain or their anxiety. Why can't it be that you just get pot just because you want to fuck around and get high and just get into a little trouble?
Well, I'm sure there's some portion of the population who does it just for those specific reasons. Plus, it maybe that's the reason in our previous comments that woman drives 3 hours to Wisconsin. Maybe in addition to Yahtzee, they're doing a stick or two and then going to bed. You never know.
Knocking boots.
Yeah, knocking boots is Teresa.
Teresa, knocking boots, high and knocking boots. There's a company called True Leave, which has the largest retail footprint for cannabis products in the United States and a 750,000 square foot cannabis cultivation facility in North Florida.
That's like an Amazon warehouse.
Yeah,
There's 1 million square foot warehouses they have.
yeah, that's a
That's
lot
huge.
of that's a lot of growing going on in northern Florida. Our buddies in northern Florida. I have a Florida story coming up here, which may be related to that very factory.
Ties directly to drug use, as most of our Florida stories seem to.
It's you're either a drug addict or a dumbass in Florida. You're in trouble.
Drugs, guns, and alligators. You can
Yeah.
almost factor all those into a Florida story.
So I'm gonna. By the way, Rick, who we've talked about before, my neighbor, he accuses me of smoking dope every night here. He says he smells it every night, and no matter what, I don't actually. I very very rarely do. Partially because my wife hates it when I'm high, so I don't getting high. I can't do it around her. And by the way, I can't. She's around 24/7. I can't shake her off either.
She never leaves your side, probably
No.
for that very reason.
Right, so I can't get high or have fun or anything. But Rick accuses me of it. So somebody in this neighborhood is getting it on at night, and hopefully it's a senior who's doing it to have fun and not just necessarily worried about their anxiety or rheumatoid arthritis or insomnia. There's some people here that the house across the street, as you very well know, across from where I live, there's people that I've never seen that are evidently living in there, but haven't come out of that place in months.
Oh yeah, it's a family of 16, and a dog bigger than a Shetland pony. So,
A person came out of the house to get their mail the other day, and I swear to God, she was gigantic, wearing
yeah,
a humongous muumuu over her,
Yeah.
And she went and walked very slow across and got her mail out of her mailbox and walked very slow back, then turned around and started yelling at somebody who wasn't there, accusing them of stealing her mail.
Oh my God.
I was like, "Oh shit!" I was going to hide out. And then for a minute the door opened and I could see scurrying people inside that house. I don't know what's going
Oh,
on.
it's frightening.
It's fucking crazy. It's crazy. All right, for our last story is, of course, it's going to be a person from Florida. This case, a woman, in a scene straight out of a sitcom. That's the way that it was described. um, and the sitcom, they even refer to a specific sitcom out of the sitcom. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I don't watch, by the way, but it stars this guy named Rob McElhaney, who, along with the movie actor Ryan Reynolds,
Yeah.
bought a soccer team over in England called Wexham, and there's a
Oh, that's
documentary.
right.
There's a documentary on FX about that. So I know he's on there, but I haven't seen it. I have never seen the show. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But the way they describe it is, in a scene straight out of the sitcom It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a Florida woman was caught on camera emerging from the inside of a couch after a failed attempt to hide from deputies. The 39-year-old was wanted on parole violation for the sale of fentanyl, nice lady,
Oh,
and
good.
an unlawful use of a two-way communication device.
Yeah. What is that?
What
What is
is
that?
that? What was she doing? Two-way.
Felony conviction for walkie-talkie abuse. How do you?
Well, isn't a two-way communication device our cell phone?
Well, it could be,
Who knows what
but
she was
maybe
doing?
it's a police scanner. I don't know.
Well, whatever it was, she's in trouble for using it, and for the sale of fentanyl, which, by the way, is not nothing to
Not nice.
even laugh about. That's dead serious.
That's horrible.
And as you can see from the pictures that I've shown here, the picture of her climbing out from inside the center of the couch are just beyond funny. It's just hilarious.
What
I
state
wonder
of
how long
mind?
she stayed down there. I wonder if anybody else. You know what the smart move would have been is for her to stay there and have people sit on it, so
Sit
that
on the couch.
yeah,
Yeah.
disguise it. But
I'm just
somehow the
wondering
cops.
what state of mind are you in when you go, aha, I'm going to hide in the couch.
I'm behind the couch. All right. Well, anyway,
Uh,
that's for this week's news for all of you. And remember, all the stories are listed here. If you want to see more, you can rewatch it and definitely subscribe. Right, Mike? Do we want these people to
please,
subscribe?
please subscribe. It's painless. You'll love us. You guarantee to see more of us. So jump on the bandwagon.
If you see us, buy us a drink. That's what we need you to do.
Please, gin,
Please.
very well shaken.
Shaken, not stirred. And also, if you are, Mike and I have come up with 52 tasks that people, especially men, they're sort of geared towards men, but they're for women too if they want to do them. A task each week to do that will make you a better human being, and you can find those tasks, this week's task, on our Substack, and what the address for that Substack is below here. So check that out. So to all of you, we'll see you next week. Mike, stay sober, relatively so, and we'll talk to you next week.
I will try. Adios, everyone. Talk to you later.